Pussycat Theaters.
Really?
In California. It's like the most hit thing on the whole website. It used to be X-rated theaters back in the 70s.
Drive-ins?
At drive-ins too. In fact, I mentioned that. We had some here in town.
That's cool.
And in fact, they had one that was thriving, except they got FM sound, so people would be driving by, they're listening to the Beach Boys, and all of a sudden, with a passive drive-in. And then they changed the clothes. Yeah, it was like FM broadcast, but you can still hear it driving near the drive-in. So that caused problems. And then they put... There's a scene where he actually opens up the eye and pulls out the eye. That was great. That was great.
Somebody's kickstick.
That's the guy who spliced the wires. Yeah, it's all about.
Hey, it's the guys that only read Playboy for the article. Those guys. Those are the ones that need to hear it.
I think every portal ends about the same way.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I told you about my trip up there. Right? Traumatized me with the speakers.
Okay.
So I'm traumatized too. So I get a girl to go up there with me. Right? I'm like 14, 15. Finally think I'm the score. You know, get a girl up there, and like, okay, your fun parts are not like that.
Go ahead. Hey, Jamie.
Are you Dwayne? Oh, yeah, I thought I recognized you.
Go ahead and walk by. It's like, that's perfect.
Oh.
So go ahead and keep walking.
And crazy hand beard.
One's like 1991, I think it would have been.
Wow.
She remembers your Bart Man poster.
I remember the Bart and the crack. The crack.
Yes, boy, that's a long time ago.
Yes.
She also was with me at the Shake Cafe when you guys played Marshmallow Overcoat.
Oh, wow.
And, she was the one who was making fun of me for my dancing. Okay. With me and Heather.
That was the one, okay.
Yes.
Mocking me, but she still does.
You know what else you got on her for? Okay, I'm allowed to talk, right?
Well, yeah. The younger generation does that.
Yes, yes.
I actually found that poster not long ago from that show. Marshall Overcoat. And it was Shambles then or Manual Scan?
I think it was Manual Scan.
Manual Scan, probably, yeah.
20-some years ago.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Whenever you're ready.
I knew it dance.
Yeah, we're here to learn. We're here to learn from you, right?
All right, so
we are rolling. Okay, cool. Jay, if you want to just introduce yourself.
my name is Jay Allen Sanford, and I've written about some of the Southern California drive-ins in Connecticut, which is only 40 miles wide. So you basically couldn't take an exit without running into a drive-in. I moved to San Diego in 1979. I was about 19 years old. And they had about 16 in San Diego at the time, all of which I visited at one point or another before they closed up. And I became what they later called an ozoner. Almost every weekend I was out there under the ozone checking out the movies under the stars. And San Diego had some of the greatest ones because we're open all year round out here. And we stay open real late out here. We don't get hit by the daylight savings time, so they would show one movie, the feature, and then the first movie again, or even a triple feature. Sometimes even an all-night themed marathon, like all the Planet of the Apes movies, or all of the Vincent Price movies from AIP. And if they were doing something like that, I was always there, whether I had a car or not.
Cool.
In fact, the very first one that I went to, I snuck into, the Midway Drive-In. And I'd never snuck in before. I hopped over the wall and didn't realize that in a metropolitan place like San Diego, there's not a lot of trees. There's just a big old tin fence. I made so much noise coming down that fence that everybody in the place heard me. All of them laughing at me, and a guy in a cart rolled up and grabbed me and took me off the property. But, that was my first drive-in visit in San Diego. It lasted 8 minutes.
That's cool.
I had no car.
Patrick says that you've become kind of an expert in drive-in theaters. Would you mind telling how that happened and how it came about?
Well, I started off by sort of chronicling my own memories and contacting people that I knew that had worked at the various drive-ins. That sort of evolved into a series of feature articles I ran in the Reader that eventually chronicled every drive-in that ever operated in the Southern California area. Theater by theater, interviewing patrons, operators, anything we could find out about, digging up old advertisements, trying to find pictures of the monkey house at the Del Mar Drive-In, of the kiddie train at the Frontier Drive-In. It was actually surprising how much of that footage and how many of the photos don't exist anymore. In particular, a company called Cero had a big fire in their office at one point, lost all of their old archives, all of the old newspaper articles. So it's actually kind of difficult to find some of the information on some of the San Diego drive-ins. But we dug up all that we could, spent probably the better part of a year and a half working on it. And it's still a work in progress because it's posted online to get people to contact us and send us their photos or send us their memories. A woman just sent me one of, she learned how to drive at the drive-in. Her dad would sit her on his lap, and that's how she would like play with the steering wheel. And as she was emailing me, she wrote that she was tearing up when she wrote the email. And those are the kind of recollections that we really like putting up online for other people to share.
That's cool. Sure, no problem.
I'm sitting down. Everybody can sit down. I can buy a drink for everybody, but I don't think
when did the theaters in San Diego start opening?
Well, the first drive-in in San Diego would have been 1947. A company named Cero actually had bought the land out by what's now known as Midway Drive. Back then it was Frontier. And they wanted to open San Diego's first drive-in. They had graded the property, they'd gotten their permits. But unfortunately, the war was just finishing up, and San Diego, the city, decided they needed some Navy housing. And they literally appropriated the land. Said, you need this, we'll give it back to you maybe in a couple of years. 1957 rolled around before they actually got the property back. So as a result, the Midway Drive-In became the first one to open in San Diego nearby. That was 1948. May I check my notes?
Yeah.
I'm not good with the dates here. First opened in 1947, I got it right.
Oh, cool.
You never doubt yourself.
I doubt myself every day. I doubt that I'm really here. I think I'm in the hospital bed with an IV in my arm right now.
We've got proof. We've got proof. You're here.
I guess the follow-up to that is, when did the theaters start closing down after?
Well, here in San Diego, it started sooner than other places because of the value of the land. Fairly quickly, the land itself would be worth so much to commercial values. It no longer was viable to run a drive-in there only at night. The few that did survive past around 1980-81 diversified by going into daytime use. They would have swap meets, or some would actually rent to churches, do church services to drive-in. They'd set up like a little platform in front, and in fact, they would broadcast the sermon over the speakers. And if it rained, you could drive up to the ticket booth and get your sacrament, get your communion wafer. And but that's actually how they kept in business, was this diversifying the daytime use. Opening the snack bars, a nostalgia destination, keeping it open in the daytime. So that enabled some of them to go on past 1980, but by about 1985, we were down to 7 or 8 that were still operating on a full-time basis. So it contracted fairly quickly beginning in 1980. It was really hard to resist the prices people were offering for the land. You couldn't justify keeping a drive-in operating on land that you could get that much money for. It happened a little later in the rest of the country where the land didn't go up quite as much, but that was probably the main cause of drive-ins closing everywhere eventually, among other considerations.
That's actually the next question. Do you mind talking a little bit? I think you touched on this, but maybe we can just go back over those again. Do you have any good memories of drive-ins from growing up?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. One of my first memories actually was attending a drive-in. We lived in Massachusetts. I was about 5 years old in 1965, and Cinderella was re-released from the Disney company. And my parents tell me I insisted on wearing a bow tie. I don't remember that much, but I thought it was such a big deal. I wanted to wear my bow tie, probably my little red suit jacket. And that's one of my fondest memories. It was a shared time with my family. It's the first time I remember going out with my family and my brother and doing an activity together like that. I don't think I stayed awake for the whole movie because I think I fell asleep fairly early. But just the experience is something that's kind of etched in my memory still. And I got my parents to take me to drive-ins fairly often after that. Even as a teenager, my dad would go with me. He took me to see Tommy, the Who movie, The Drive-In. He took me to see Fritz the Cat, but he didn't get past the part where they're peeing off a roof. And he decided that was enough of the drive-ins for him. I think it was the last one he took me to.
Do you mind telling that story again?
Sure.
Sneaking over the fence?
No, there's a scene in Fritz the Cat where there's an animal that pees off the roof. And my dad, up until that point, had loved going to the drive-ins. We've seen probably 30 different movies there. But when that scene came up in Fritz the Cat, he got mad and he wanted to drive out. And he never took me to a drive-in again after that. I don't think he knew it was that kind of cartoon. I think he thought it was going to be like Cinderella again. So I was way past bow ties, and there was no ruby slippers in that one, no glass slippers.
Did you tell the story on camera about sneaking into the... Yeah,
Okay.
or did you tell it before? I can't remember.
I think I did tell him.
Okay, cool.
Oh, with the noise? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I hate to say that I hurt the drive-in revenue by sneaking in, but when I first got to San Diego, I had no car for the first year. And that was the only way I could get in there, but I tried to make up for that by buying lots of snack bar food. They would occasionally catch me and kick me out. I remember actually Christmas Eve, it was probably 1981 or 82. I went and saw the Steve Martin movie, The Jerk. And I was living alone, I had no car, I snuck in the movie. And a guy actually caught me on the driving lot and was in the process of kicking me out. And then he realized it was Christmas Eve, and he said, well, never mind, just have a good time, happy Christmas. And I tell that story to some people, and they think it's a sad story, but it's not wild at all. It's one of my favorite memories. One of my favorite Christmas Eves, sitting on the cold drive-in lot with my peanut butter and jelly sandwich I brought in with a paper bag. And the fact that they let me stay there and watch that movie, that's one of my fonder memories.
And you had a bunch of cool movies.
And it was great, yeah. I think Russ Never Sleeps was the backup feature, too.
Cool.
Many fond memories like that. Once I finally got a car, I legitimately would pay to get in. I was never one of those people that went in the trunk or anything. I did try to get into a few of the little scooters I used to drive, but for some reason the drive-ins in California wouldn't let you in the scooter. There's some kind of liability insurance problem. So I would park the scooter and walk in, and they would charge me the fee. And I walk in and sit down a lot and watch the movie. Nothing was going to keep me away. No car, wouldn't let me in the scooter. I was still going to get in there and watch the movie.
Cool. Can you talk a little bit about your drive-in artwork that you've been drawing? Well,
I've drawn most of the drive-ins. Like, I have a drawing tablet that's really better than drawing because if I make a mistake, I backtrack. It takes me a second. If I make a mistake with a pencil or a brush, I got to start over again.
Yep.
I prefer working digitally now.
And you find the accuracy there too?
It's easier. It's easier for me to work. I have more techniques at my disposal.
Yep.
It's just all around better. I can't believe I used to do these old ones that are hand done. And
yeah.
I used to have to white out the little balloon tails and stuff. And it used to take me 8 to 10 hours to do one. I can do it in 2 hours now,
wow.
or less. So it just made my job and my life much easier.
It's cool.
All right. I don't know if we want to start out with the drive-in stuff. I mean,
I've actually got several of the theater ones grouped around you too.
So, thank you for taking care of all this.
I'm a little bit nervous about
Yeah, it's supposed to be 9.
getting up there and everything, but yeah. I just want to make sure that I don't it's like I would have to say famous former neighbors in my head because I would keep having to say former neighbors. They're not formally famous, they're still famous, they're just former neighbors.
I predict there'll be one out of order.
Yeah, at least.
You're my friend, was it?
I'm not actually, well, first, I have yet to see the skiing, right? Probably first. Well, they're supposed to go at first, but he also said that he wasn't for sure if they were going to show up. So, everything's sort of up in the air, and as far as I know, it's logical.
I don't know if he's going to light it in a second there.
There you go.
Nice.
Can you go up any higher? Yep. Maybe move it more towards the source, or up more toward the wall, and then kick it up as high as you can go. Yep. There you go. Okay, cool.
Are you guys doing sound right now or no?
Not right now.
So can we actually start the music again?
Did you want to get anything with the audio? I'm rolling the audio. It'd be good if we could maybe like 5 minutes. Is that cool?
5, okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
So we'll just have.
I'll just have you walk through some of this stuff here.
I'd rather be off camera if that's okay.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
So what do we got here?
Well, we have some set at the local Santee Drive-In, which actually was the 5th drive-in to open in San Diego and is still operating to this day. They have 2 screens. They run out in the Santee. And I always look forward to getting tips that are set at the Santee Drive-In. I particularly enjoy driving the Marquee, which is a challenge in black and white, but I get a kick out of the challenge.